As we continue down our journey to Google Mastery, we're going to stop at our third point of interest, which is the Classwork section. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the Classwork section and talking about all the amazing things that teachers can do in this section of Google Classroom. So you will see here that we have our Create button, and this is where most of the work is going to happen in the Classwork section. So clicking on the Create button gives you some options. So today we're going to talk about how we can create an assignment, create a quiz assignment, a question, some materials, reusing a post, and topics. First thing we're going to talk about is adding an assignment. So to add an assignment in Google Classroom, first you're going to make sure that you're in your Classwork section. Then we're going to click on the Create button and we're going to choose Assignment. From here, we have some options. So here we can first put in our title. So I'm just, for the sake of this video, I'm just going to call this a demo assignment. And then here, if I want to, I can add some instructions. These are optional. And then down here is where I can add some materials to this assignment for my students. So if I wanted to add something here, I can add something from my Google Drive. I can add a link to a website or an article. I can add a file that is on my computer but might not be in my Google Classroom, or excuse me, in my Google Drive. And then here, YouTube, I can add a link to a YouTube video. Create, if I didn't have anything already pre-done that I wanted them to work on, like maybe I had a template that I wanted them to use, but if I didn't have anything already pre-done, I could just create something right here. I could create a doc or a slide or a sheet or a drawing or a form, and I could work on that right here and I would be able to add it to their assignment. So I'm going to go ahead and go to my drive and I'm going to add something from my drive. So let's search for template. So I'm going to click on that and I'm going to come down here and click insert. So when I add materials to the assignments, you can see by default it says students can view. So I have three options here. I can say students can view, students can edit, or I can make a copy for each student. Students can view means that they can look at the materials that are added, but they cannot type on them. Students can edit would be if I wanted them to work collaboratively, so it's one document that everybody's working on. Or make a copy would mean that Google Classroom would go ahead and make a copy of this template for each of my kids. So for this case, I'm just going to say make a copy for each. And then over here is who I'm going to be assigning it to. So for my Google Classroom, do I want it to just go to one class or do I want it to go to multiple classes? Students, if I had students enrolled in this class, I would see a list of my students here. I could assign this to all of them, or I could unselect this and I could choose the students that I wanted this assignment to specifically go to. Here are the points, so I can say that by default, Google makes it where it's out of 100. I can leave that, or I can adjust and I can say for this assignment, it's going to be worth 50 points. I can give it a due date. We're going to say that this is due on Friday. If I wanted to, I could give it a time. So it is due by 3 p.m. And then topics. We're going to get into topics in a little bit. But if I had a topic, I could choose it here or I could create a topic for here. So I'm just going to create a topic and I'm going to call this. I had a rubric that I wanted this to be graded by. I could add my rubric here. And then if I wanted to, if they were writing a report or something and I wanted to check for plagiarism, I could check that here as well. So it looks like everything's pretty good. Everything's the way I would like it. So now I can either click to assign or I can click the down arrow and I can schedule it to go out on a certain day and a certain time. I can save this as a draft or I can just discard everything that I was working on. So I'm just going to go ahead and assign it. And now, once we get back to the classwork section, you will see now I have this new topic here, social studies, and I have my assignment here. Another thing that we can create in Google Classroom is we can create a quiz assignment. So if I click on quiz assignment, what that's going to do, it's going to bring up the assignment window, but then you'll also notice that it automatically added a blank Google form here. So what I can do here is I can click on this form and I can start creating a quiz right from here. So if I didn't have a quiz already pre-made that I wanted to use and I wanted to create one on the fly, I could do that here. Also, you want to make sure that grade importing is turned on. So I can turn this into a quiz and whatever grade they get on this form will automatically get populated in Google Classroom. I can turn on locked mode for Chromebooks. So what that does is it has it where they will not be able to open up any tabs or any other applications while they're taking the quiz. If they do, you as a teacher will get a notification saying student has left the quiz. So you know that they left and they kind of closed out of this quiz. And then all the same tools apply. So you can give your title, your instructions, you can say who it's for, what students it's for, how many points, you can give it a due date, and you can assign it a topic as well. Next thing that we can do in the Classwork section of Google Classroom is we can create a question. So I would just click on create and question, and from here I can type out my question. So here is a question. And then I can decide, do I want this to be a short answer or do I want it to be multiple choice? So for this one, I'm going to have it be short answer. And then I can give instructions if I like. Same thing, who I'm assigning it to, what students, how many points, if there's a due date, and if there's a topic. And then down here, do I want students to be able to reply to each other after they answer their question? And then do I want them to be able to edit their answer? So just depending on the question, it will determine what kind of settings you want here. The good thing to know is that students will not see anybody else's answers until they have submitted their question. So once you have everything set up the way you like, same thing, you can ask it now or you can schedule it for a later date. So for this one, I'm actually going to schedule it and I'm going to say, I want to ask this question on Thursday at 8 a.m. So I'm going to schedule it. And now you'll see that I have this scheduled question here. So I will see this as the teacher, but my students will not see this until August 6th at 8 a.m. I can create some materials. So if I wanted to just provide them some documentation, provide them some materials, something that they're not necessarily going to turn in, but I want them to access it, materials is a great way to do that. So maybe it's your class syllabus, or maybe it's resources for a report that they're doing. So I'm a former fourth grade teacher, so I just think, if I was doing something on missions, I could provide some materials for them. I can give them, if I had any types of resources in my drive, or I can give them links to websites, I could do that here. So I can add some mission materials, and then I could add my documentation here. And then once I post that, I'm actually going to add this. I'm going to create a new topic and I'm going to call this class materials. So when I post this, now I have a class material section. So my students will see the class materials section, they'll see the social studies section. And if I want the social studies section to be on top, I can just click and I can just drag this on the top and I can have this always at the top. Then you'll also see that we have our topics on the side here. So my students can go in and if they know that they are just going to work on some social studies things today, they can click on social studies and it'll just show them the social studies materials or the social studies assignments. If they're just looking for some class materials, they can click on that topic and it'll just show them the class materials. I can create topics here. So I can go in and I can add all my topics. So I can add ELA. I want to add math. Now I have my sections here, and this kind of organizes it well for our students. So they don't just have to scroll and try to find things. They can go to the math section to find their math assignments or math materials. Same thing for ELA, same thing for social studies. And then also, if I've used Google Classroom in the past and I know that there's a particular assignment that I use over and over and over again, I can just go here to reuse post. What this is going to do is it's going to pull up all my classrooms in the past. So let's say I want to pull something from my demo class. I'm going to use this discussion assignment. I'm just going to go ahead and click on reuse. And then now I have my title, my directions, everything that I've posted in here, my point value, the topic, all that's already there for me. So I can just click assign. And now it's going to add that to my classwork section. You will also see at the top here we have some buttons for Meet, Google Calendar, and Class Drive folder. So Meet is going to take me straight to my Google Classroom Meet link. So if I wanted to, or if your students want to join a Meet session straight from Google Classroom, they could do that here. Google Calendar is going to open up the calendar that is associated with this Google Classroom. And so your students can open this up to look at upcoming assignments, things that are due this week, kind of help them keep organized. And then the Class Drive folder, Google Classroom and Google Drive are connected. So any type of assignments, any type of materials, anything that gets added to Google Classroom gets added to this Class Drive folder as well. So they could click on the Class Drive folder and they could access all those materials from there as well. So that was just a brief walkthrough of the classwork section of Google Classroom. In our next video, we're going to move on over to the people section of Google Classroom, and we're going to talk about that section and the certain things that you can do in that section as a teacher. Make sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for updates on new videos, and I will catch you next time.